Aha! You were expecting someone else. Hello, my name is Peter. And I want to share with you today a story about when I got off mission. After we had went to see our Lord crucified and went through a horrible time as his disciples, we'd heard the great news. He was risen. And we were excited. We thought, okay, now is the time. Now is the time where he is going to restore Israel, restore the kingdom, bring us back, and God's people will reign on earth. But when he did show up, he showed up in the very strangest of ways. We would be in a room and he would just appear. And then we wouldn't see him again for days on end. It was in a time like that where I got very discouraged. I thought, it must not be what we thought it was going to be. And we were getting our hopes up and discovering some of the difficulties in life were weighing us down. Things hadn't turned out the way we had hoped. And so I looked at the other disciples and said to them, let's go fishing. Let's go fishing. We knew about fishing. Fishing was our way of life before Jesus had come. Let's go fishing. And so we went. We went fishing. We fished and fished. If you've ever fished, maybe you fish for fun. But we don't fish for fun. We are trying to make a living now out of fishing again, like we did before. Before all this came with Jesus and God's kingdom, we were fishermen. Now we were fishermen again. And it's hard work. You drop the nets and they're heavy and wet and you pull them up. And we were fishing and fishing all night. And we caught nothing. Now that doesn't bother you if you're fishing for fun. But if you are fishing for your life, for your food, fishing all night and catching nothing means you've wasted your time fishing, and you better find something else to dedicate your life to. I remember it was early in the morning and we were discouraged, not a fish, hungry, tired, and we didn't know, but this person on the other side of the shore screamed out to us, children, have you caught anything? Oh, what we wanted to do. No, we've caught nothing. And what does he know about fishing anyways? But he says back, try throwing your net on the other side of the boat. Can you imagine telling us, fishermen, professional fishermen, which side to put the net on, as if we didn't know? But we had a funny feeling about this man on the beach. And so we threw our net in the other side. And the weight of the net was amazing. It was full of fish, full of fish. And that's when one of the disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, said to me, it is the Lord. And I knew it must be Jesus. I threw my outer garment off. I jumped in the water. I swam to see him. I got up and there he was. As they were trying to get the boat with all those fish, I was the first to see Jesus. And there he was. And he was at a charcoal fire. And there was fish on it and bread. When I looked at the charcoal fire, I couldn't help it. The last time I had seen a charcoal fire was standing outside of the high priest's court, warming myself by a charcoal fire. But it was the Lord. And then he asked me, Peter, do you love me more than these? They had got the fish to the shore in a heavy net. And inside that net was not just 153 fish. You know we are fishermen. We counted the fish. 153 large fish. And he looked and said, Peter, do you love me more than these? Did I love Jesus more than fish? Of course, I love Jesus more than fish. I like fish, but I love Jesus more. Why would he ask me if I like fish more than him? But then he asked me again, Simon, Peter, do you love me? I said, Lord, you know I love you. And then he asked a third time, and that one really hurt. Peter, do you love me more than these? You know I love you. 3 times he asked me if I loved him, and 3 times he answered the same way. Peter, if you love me, feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. I didn't understand at that moment exactly what Jesus was trying to say. But then I realized the last time Jesus had told us, throw the net on the other side of the boat. We were all fishermen. We were with our family fishing. And Jesus came and asked, could he use our boat to speak to the crowds? And we hadn't caught anything. I know it says something about what kind of fishermen we were, but we hadn't. And at that time he said the same thing. Throw your net on the other side of the boat. And it was full of fish. And I knew this is an amazing man. I have no business being in the same boat as this man. I fell down and said, I am not worthy to be in your presence. And he said, come, follow me. I will make you fisher of people. Peter, do you love me? Then feed my sheep. Peter, do you love me? Then feed my lambs. Peter, do you love me? Then feed my sheep. Jesus was asking me if I loved him, then I would care about the same things he cared about. In all our discouragement, that things weren't going the way we'd hoped, they hadn't worked out the way we'd planned, things had gotten difficult, we went back to fishing. Were fish more important than people? Jesus reminded me, people matter to Jesus more than fish. If you love me, Peter, feed my sheep. Jesus wanted us to care about what he cared about. He reminded me when we first met that I dropped those nets to become a fisher of people, all people. Jesus loved all people. Usually those people everyone else didn't like were the very people Jesus cared about and went out of his way to reach those sheep, those lambs. And he was asking me, Peter, if you love me, you will care about what I care about. I care about people. I had forgotten. Discouraged, I'd gotten off mission. I wanted to go back to my old life, distracted by fish. 153 large fish. Peter, do you love me more than these fish? I wonder, do you have fish in your life? Fish in your life that you've allowed to take the place of that first love you had with Jesus when you were willing to drop your nets or whatever else it was and follow him wherever he asked you to go and care for the things he cared about. Putting people ahead of fish and fishing. That was where I found myself reminded that I had gotten off mission. I wonder where your heart is today. In all the challenges, in all the difficulties, the disappointments, all the things life throws at you, in all the failures, and I know what it means to fail, staring at that charcoal, with Jesus feeding us fish that he provided before we'd even fished. He'd had the fish there. Before we drug the fish in, he had the fish there for us. We had forgotten what it was God had called us to, where it was Jesus had called us to go to follow him. If Jesus peered into your heart, what would he see? Would he see a heart beating with a passion of love for Jesus and the things he cares about? People. Would he see zeal for his mission to go into the world making disciples? Or would he see a sign that says, gone fishing? I realized in that moment I loved Jesus more than anything and would follow him wherever he asked me to go, even if I had to die for it, even if I had to lose my life to go where Jesus called me to go. I would not go off mission. I can't answer for you. You are the only one. But what I can tell you is, I love Jesus more than anything. And what matters to Jesus, what Jesus cares about, I care about. And where Jesus asks me to go, I go. And I remain on his mission. Nothing will take me away from that again. Not even 153 really large fish. Well, if you'll excuse me, we now meet at the colonnade of Solomon by the temple, continuing to feed Jesus' lambs, those people who are coming to believe in him through our message. And we are gaining quite a following. And I must go there now to speak to them. And it may cause me trouble. But even if it does, I will continue to be on mission for Jesus, loving what he loves, even if it cost me my life. Are you able to say the same? I hope so.